Today I'm going to show you multiple animations and triggers to make your website visually appealing and interactive using Velo. What's up, you guys? Thanks for tuning in with your boy Nino from Creatively Nino. I got a tutorial for you guys today on Wix animations and how to set up timelines to define what animations are played on which page elements and when those animations are played. And if you're struggling with how to do this, then follow along with this video to gain more insight on how to control the page elements using the timeline function in Wix animations. It's a little challenging at first, but overall I think you guys are really gonna like it. And if you do like it, hey, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you never miss another Wix tutorial like this one. So let's jump in and check this thing out. All right, so let's save time and look good online, baby. So what I am going to show you guys is my setup here. Okay, so I actually have a container box here, two vector items here, one vector item and then an image here. So you guys can just choose whatever image. I just went in here and found those images. So how you can get to your strip is right here. That's my lay foundation here. And then also you can come down here to decorative and you can find those vector arts here. So you can go to featured and then go to all vector art to find those vectors. I have some more vector art right here. And then also if you wanted to find these lines and stuff like that, you can definitely head up to horizontal lines and then drag that sucker in. Okay, and then also we have buttons here, so you can just find that in the buttons tab. And then also I did show an image, so you can come up to images and then you can go into free Wix images. That is what I did here. Okay, or you can pull in some of your uploads. All right, so let's go ahead and get started laying this foundation out. So basically what I wanted to show you guys is an on mouse in and on mouse out trigger. Okay, and then also how you can trigger it just by a button click, right? And then also how to do a continuous on mouse in function. So let's go ahead and jump in the code and check this thing out. So as you can see, the code block is here. What you have to first do is actually bring in a Wix animation. Okay, so let me go ahead and talk to you guys about a typical animation process. All right, so basically what we'll do here is we'll put in the Wix animation module. Okay, and then we'll actually put in this timeline. Okay, as you can see, Wix animations.timeline is actually has a JSON object that's inside of here. So with this JSON object, what we're doing right here, we're saying, okay, how many times do we want to repeat it? Okay, and actually in my code here down here, I can show you what that really means. So if you put in -1, that actually means that you want to infinitely play that timeline. And if you put in 0, that means it's only going to play once. So just remember that, guys, because if you put in 3 here, that means it plays 4 times. Okay, so this is a step above what it actually reads. Okay, so what is repeated delay? Okay, that is just what it says. Basically, how much time do you want it to delay before it repeats again? Okay, and that means play again. And then yo-yo means, okay, do you want to go in this synchronized step process or do you want to replay that process? So good example down here is when you change it to false, it's going to do A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. But if we turn it to true, it's going to be A, B, C, C, B, A, B, C. Okay, that's how you can see the yo-yo effect. All right. So that is only if you have any type of repetitions going on here. But if you want to play that once and that is it, then I don't think yo-yo would have any type of effect here. Basically, you would come in here and you would set your parameters. So this is what you would be setting. You'll be setting one of your elements here. So my image equals this element right here, this page element, which is my image. And then what you would do here is you would put a timeline.add. So what timeline.add is doing is it's adding the animation to the timeline, okay? And if you guys don't know exactly what timeline is doing, it's actually used to compose animations together over time. So that means that you can put as many animations you want in a synchronized multiple step. And on those matched elements, they can control those things or precisely manage their timing. And that's what we're going to show you guys today. All right, so basically what we're doing here is we're rotating it 360, and also we're scaling it down to half its size. So when we're talking about anything, when we're adding on an animation or an action here and telling what that page element is going to do, well, this is going to do it in a step process. So we're going to see it rotate 360 at a half scale, and we're going to see that doing that whole thing for the duration of 1 second. Okay. And then if we come down here, you'll see that, okay, now we're going to change the opacity to 0. And then also the duration is going to be 1 second. So we'll see that actually go and fade to 0 in 1 second. All right. And then also you'll have a button here usually where you'll click the play button, and then that will play it. Okay. And then you'll have a reverse button here, and then a pause button, and all these other different types of buttons that you would like to put on here. This is like a typical process here for an element. Okay. Now there are several things that you guys can put into your timeline. Okay. And when you're adding a animation to your timeline, you can go through many possibilities on your animation. So let's go ahead and check out some animations that I put together. Now let's jump into how I set up some of these animations. All right, so basically what we want to see here is that the timeline options, okay, this is going to be what goes into our timeline, and this is going to be just an object. So just like I explained, you have these 3 options here, and then you put that into your timeline function in order to declare what your timeline is going to be doing. Okay, so as you can see here in this example, we have a box here. All right, so this container box right here is what houses this image and vector. And so we're going to talk about that right now first. So what I did here was I said box timeline is equal to an object. And so what this is telling me is that when I assign this object box timeline, that means I'm going to get that stuff from the timeline option. So I'm going to assign everything that is in this timeline object to this parameter right here, box timeline. All right, and then that's when we can go into box timeline and change those values based on what we want for this timeline. All right, and then I have the box repeated number here, which is 1, and then also the duration here, which is 1,000. All right, so I just put that in there just to show you guys that you can use parameters here. That way you can make it useful to use down the road here. Okay, so what I mean by that is what you can see here is I'm actually grabbing the duration here, and also you can see that I'm creating the box timeline here. So we're going to do it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do Wix animations.timeline, and we're going to put that options here, that timeline options, which we masked as box timeline. So we created a new timeline option named box timeline that we're putting inside of this function here. So when we do that, we're going to name box timeline here, and we're going to say box timeline.add, and then we're going to put in our first element that we want to use. Okay, so we're going to put this in here as this. Now within this add parameter, you can put as many animations as you want. So in each one of these JSON objects here, these are animations, and it's going to go in this type of step process in order. Okay, there is no way that you can randomize the order unless you create a randomized function that can go in here and randomly throw these things around, but that is for a different tutorial. But right now this is going in a synchronized step, and so what it's doing here is we're getting the opacity, and we're going to bring that opacity down to 0. Okay, we don't want that thing to show. All right, and then also we want the duration is to be 0. That means it's going to do it as quick as possible and there is no delay. Okay, and then what we want to do is we want to rotate this item, which this is the vector image. So that means that little circle box here, it's going to look like we're adding or we're going to be loading our information on here. So that is just a sign of showing a loading. So what we're doing here is we're rotating this 1020. Okay, so that means it's going to give us a lot of rotation here. And then also we're going to rotate this in a clockwise direction. Well, the default is clockwise, but I just want to make sure that it overrides whatever the rotation was set to, and we're going to make it clockwise. All right. And then with this, we have the opacity up to 1. And then also the duration is going to be that 1 second up here. Okay, stay tuned with this duration. And also, I wanted to let you guys know that I am using an enum. So what an enum is an enumerated variable, okay? And what I did with that is I created a enumerable variable so that then I can easily go ahead and reference it every single time so that there is no hiccups or anything that messes around with it. So I definitely will go into that soon. And you know what? Let's just go into it right now. All right, so actually up here, as you can see here, I'm importing an ease enum and I have labeled it as such. Okay, so let's go ahead and check that out. So if you come over to your code files, you can actually go ahead and create a folder, label it enums, and then I just labeled this app so that you can come in here and create a new file and say app. All right, so in this app, as you can see here, we have a JSON object that has all of the ease in and ease outs that we have available. Okay, and this is actually available in Velo references, so definitely go check that out. I'm going to put it in the description below, so check that out, and this is where you can find that information. All right, so this is my easy enum. All right, and this is bringing in all of that pretty much like cool stuff that I have outlined in my page code. All right, so then what we're going to see here is we can export these objects out. All right, so this is going to export all of these out as single items here, or we can just export the default, which is easy enum. All right, so that is what I'm doing here. I'm exporting the default of ease enum. All right, so that is this block right here. All right, all these other things here are just if you want to specify what it is. All right, and so if you do that, you guys can bring in each and every one of these here by themselves. All right, so that's just a little quick tutorial on how to use your public code file. So definitely make use of it. This is a cool use case for it, so that way nothing breaks and everything can stay consistent throughout your whole entire site. All right, so let's go back on over to our page code. And as you understand about that, that is why we're doing an ease enum in, and we're going to get that easy in cubic. All right, so this is going to come in a cubic way, and you guys can check out the way that the cubics look. I'm going to put it on here, right here to the right, so that you guys can know exactly what these things are doing and how it's doing it. All right, but if you don't want to go ahead and see it on the video here, you guys can check it out in the Velo references, and like I said, I put the link in the description. All right, and also you can see here I am actually bringing that opacity back down to 0 so that then it cancels out after a second. All right, and that's the duration here. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some little bit complicated stuff. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm going to add another animation, and this is going to be appending to my timeline. Okay, so we have this box timeline.add, and you can add more, you can extend it. Okay, so this is an extender right here, and you're extending that timeline, and you're adding this timeline for this image here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to grab the opacity and do the same thing that we did up at the top for our vector image. Now we're going to do for our image is we're going to create a scale. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're scaling it or moving it on the x-axis and y-axis plus equals 90. So when we're adding anything, or if we're trying to subtract anything, just remember that if you do plus equals 90 or plus equals any type of number, it will span that amount across the x-axis. And then also the same here for the y-axis. So if you want to do in a negative direction, you guys can go ahead and put negative equals 90, okay? But right now I'm just going to say positive equals 90, and you'll see what exactly I mean by the positives, okay? We're going to scale this to 0.5 because this image is already big enough, and we want to make it small so that it can look like a small little rocket blasting off. Okay, and then so basically my duration is going to be 1 second, but also it's going to be times 0.2. Okay, so we're going to be timesing it by 0.2 so that then it actually goes slightly after this vector art goes. All right, so that means that it goes in a sequential order. That means it's going to show this loading, and it's not going to all happen at the same time. Okay, so it's going to have some type of delay. And that is why we put this delay here, and we're going to say delay for the 1 second. Okay, wait for 1 second. And then after that 1 second's over, times 0.2. So that means like it's going to be around 200ths of a second, which would be 200 milliseconds. And that is when this whole entire thing is going to run. Okay, so it's going to run right after this delay. All right. As you can see here, easy Enum out, easing out Quint. Like I said right here, you're going to see that information, and you're going to know what easy out Quint is doing. Okay. And as you can see here, we're actually doing the opacity here, the delay, the duration, and the easing. So this is going to happen after that. And then also you can see that you can play around with the X and Y's and put it back to its original position. So if you wanted to put it back to its original position, you could do minus equals 90 or minus equals 90 for the Y. Okay, so that way that this can go back to its same position. But we want to go and surpass that position. Okay, so that's why we just doubled it here. All right, but you can easily go ahead and make this a function if you would want. What I mean by a function is that you guys can create it by using these other brackets here, and you could say plus equals, and then you can do the $sign with the brackets, and then you can make that a number. Okay, so you can say 90 times 2. And what this 90 times 2 is going to give you is the 180 right here. All right, and it's going to change that into a string item because it's wrapped around in these curly quotes. So let me go ahead and take that off because it can't read my JSON object. All right, so that is what it's doing here, and it's actually going to shoot this rocket off just like that. And as you can see, my delay is going to be 2.2, and then my duration is going to be times 3. Okay, so we're going to make this quick. Okay, we're going to make it quick to, pop up, and then we're going to make this cool little ease out Quint so that you can see that rocket blast off. All right, so I'm not going to actually go too much into any other code after this with this extensive list of different types of synchronous ways on how you can show your elements moving. So if you guys want more information on how I'm doing all of these other ones here, you guys can check out my website and go straight to this article, and you can find this code there and then follow along with me on the video. All right, so as you can see here, we're going to go ahead and do an on start method, okay, or function. And what we're going to do here is we're going to handle anything that is at the start position. Okay, so what we want to do is both of these images are actually hidden. As you can see, I have put that as a hidden item, and then this is as a hidden element. All right, so what I wanted to do is for this vector element, I want the vector element to show first. Okay, and then after a set time, which is this duration that I'm using again, I want to go ahead and show that image one, which is this rocket. Okay, and this rocket is going to be popping up down here, and it's going to be shooting off into the distance within this container box. All right. And then when this is on complete, for this on complete method, we're going to hide everything. Okay. And then we're going to say that this box is finished. All right. So that is why we have that box finished up here. Where is that box finished? Right here. Yep. As you can see, the box finish is right there, and that is bad practice. So let's go ahead and move that up here. That way it can be defined first, and then if this is on complete, it can finish through that way. All right. So as you can see here in our mouse in function, we're going to say, okay, if box finish is false, we're going to play this element. All right. So we're going to play this timeline. And if the box finish is true, we're going to replay that timeline and then change box finish to false. All right. And then if we do a mouse out, we want to go ahead and pause that timeline. All right. And also hide the image and hide the vector image. So as you can see, that is one example here. Okay. And then the second example here that I have is based on clicking this button. All right. So we're going to do the same type of layout as before, set the repeater to 0. So that means it's only going to run one time because it's at a 0 mark. Okay. So this 0 mark is going to animate through all of this timeline, and then it's going to stop. All right. So as you can see here, our vector image 6 and vector image 7 is going to be affected for this V image 2. All right. So we can add multiple page elements together to do the same exact animation. So as you can see here, I'm going through my adding here, and I'm adding these different types of rotations. It's going to be a cool look. And then also I have my on start here. I have my on complete. All right. So I have a button finish is true. Okay, here we go. So we got to define it first. All right, so that then it will know exactly what's going on here if it were to complete before this whole thing got loaded. All right, and so then we're going to have an on repeat. Okay, so this will just share with us that the timeline is repeating and also show the event that's happening. And then also on reverse complete, you can do that as well. You'll have different options to do and to choose from for these different methods and functions. So as you can see here on the button click, we're going to see if that button was finished. If it wasn't, we're going to play it. If the button has finished, we're going to pause it and we're going to reverse everything. Okay, so that means that the button finish is equal to false. That means that whatever these things go, it's going to go back to its original position because we're doing a pause dot reverse. All right, so dot pause will pause whatever is happening and being played if we were to stop it before it finishes, and then it's going to reverse back to its original position. So we can actually test that out as well. And then as you can see for this third example right here for this cool stuff, we're going to be repeating this timeline infinitely because remember I said -1 means that this is going to be infinitely repeating. All right. And so with this vector image 3 here, we're going to separate these two out because we want all of these things to do different animations. Okay. And then also we have different timelines here because we want to make sure that all of them are doing its own thing. Okay. Its own synchronized thing. And you'll see what I mean by that in a few minutes. All right. So basically with your text timeline, with the first one, we want to set that image 3 to doing this type of animation. All right, so this is going to go -100 across the x-axis and then back to its original position. All right, and we're going to be delaying that for a 1/5 millisecond. All right, of that 1 second. So as you can see, we're going to start this here, and then after that delay, we're going to go ahead and do the same exact duration. So in this one, I could have easily went here and said duration at the top and then put it in here and then said duration +5 if needed. But in this one, I just wanted to show you guys without actually having a declared parameter at the top. All right, so as you can see here, we're going into the easing and we're bringing out the ease out exponential. Okay, and then also with this timeline for the vector image 4, we're going to do the same thing here, but in reverse order. So that means that this is my arrow over here for this left one. And then also this is my arrow over here for my right one. Okay. And then we're going to say, all right, for this line, which is underneath cool stuff, we're going to actually do plus 100, which will come down first, and then it'll go back to its original position, just like we did with all of these other delays here and durations. All right, and then we have the on start if we want to add things here. We have the on complete here, and the on repeat and the on reverse if you choose to do so. I just have that readily available for you guys. All right, and for this text finish, we're not going to actually use this because we're going to use that mouse in and mouse out. All right, so we can actually get rid of this here because it's not being used. And so what we're going to do here is when we're in this text 88, so that means this cool stuff here, we're going to play all of our timelines. All right, and then we're going to show all of those images as well. All right, and then when we do a mouse out of this text 88, then we're going to fade all of those things and pause the timeline. All right, because it's infinitely, we can't actually stop it. So we want to just pause it. All right, so that is how you can stop it. So let's go ahead and preview these suckers out. All right, okay, everything is loaded up. Now let's go ahead and start off with the rocket. All right, so we're going to do a mouse in, and as you can see, the rocket is shooting off just like how we had it, and it's actually going to be repeating 3 times. Okay, 3 times it's going to repeat. All right, so then I mouse out, and then everything should reverse back and replay the animation. All right, so as you can see, it's a little bugging out right now, but that is sometimes what happens, and you just have to just tweak it a little bit however you would like. All right, so let's see if this button works. And that is a pretty cool animation, and then we can go ahead and play that again. Okay, and then if we want to stop it, we can stop it and then play it back. Okay, as you can see, it's reversing after we pause it. All right, let's put it back into the original position. And then if we come into cool stuff, we'll see that these things are infinitely going. Okay, that means that it's going to go as long as the test of time. Okay, and then if we were to come out of that, everything fades away and nothing happens. All right, but if we come back, we'll see that it resumes its infinitely animation. All right, so if you had a hard time following this tutorial, then head on over to my website for further explanation of the code. There's a link in the description to my website, so check that out, guys. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Definitely give it a shot. If you have any questions, drop them below. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and if you like this video, hit that like button. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great tutorials every weekend. Also, check out my website to find other tips and tricks about Wix. This helps us do what we do, and this channel is supported by viewers just like you. You can also click the thumbnail and watch another video from this channel. See you guys in the next video, okay guys? Ciao.